Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over my ProQuest Arakni list, talk about how my games went. We just barely squeaked outside top 8, but we'll talk about it, give you a kind of a competitive form of the list, hopefully give you a good starting point if you're wanting to take Arakni long term, and yeah, we'll get right into it. If you're new to the channel, welcome, thank you so much for stopping by, hopefully enjoy your stay. If you're a long-standing supporter, thank you so much as always. Feel free to check out the Discord down below as well as the channel membership for some access to some cool stuff. So I'm going to roll the list up here. I'll talk about how my progress went, and then we'll get into the list itself. So I switched decks literally, excuse me, I have a cough, like 15 times last night. I had Zen built, I had Riptide built, like a more kind of, not fatigue Riptide, no count your blessings or anything, but just kind of a more mid-range, slower Riptide build, and then I had Arakni. The reason I was going on that is because I knew that we have two players who play Enigma in the local area. Us and another store like an hour away, we had their ProQuest on the same day. And a lot of the Illusionist players in general, like Prism and Enigma, live there. So I knew they were going to be going to their event, so we'd have less Illusionists in general. And then I also knew that one of the Illusionist players here wasn't playing today. So I knew that there might be one Enigma in the entire field. So because of that, that's what made me originally change from Zen Riptide to Arakni, because I was like, maybe I'll get lucky and there's a lot of Auroras, a lot of Dios because people were super excited to play the hero, which there were, and a lot of aggro in general, and then I can just kind of prey upon that. So that's what I ended up doing, and I literally did not play a Dio, Aurora, or Enigma the entire day. So it was 5 rounds. Going through my rounds really quick, I lost round 1 to Merrick Kemp on Max. Merrick's an extremely good Max player. That game, I played as well as I could have. I banished a high octane and a max V like turn 2, turn 3. And then I was just whittling him down. Really good, doing a good job of giving disruption, not letting him hold cards and hold hands. He ended up playing 2 supercells, which gave him more than enough counters on his stuff. He never had to worry about like keeping hyperdrivers alive. And then he ended up with like 5 cards left in deck. He had like 5 cards left in deck plus his hand, like 5 to 6. And then his arsenal and his hand, and he ended up going into mech and then proceeded to play double high octane into the mech, and he dealt and I had the turn before that I had hit him with a death touch, and he really couldn't block it because if he gave me 2 cards, this double high octane turn doesn't really work, or at least it does, but not as well as he wants to. So he took 6, went down to like 7 life, 6 life. I was at 31. I gave him a frailty token off of Death Touch. And so I was feeling pretty good. I was like, okay, even if he has a good turn, maybe he won't kill me. He proceeds to double high octane into Twin Drive. So he hit me for 53 damage through a frailty token. So I died. He technically dealt 61 damage. If you look at it, he hit 8 charges on that turn on his mech. So nothing I could do there. Super good play by him. I bought him one of his mechs. I banished a high octane into max V. I saw him banish another max V, so I knew I was in a good spot because I'm pretty sure he was on 2 max Vs, but it is what it is. So we're 0-1. Pretty much have to win out from here. Then we go into round 2, and I'm not going to be too negative about it. I ended up drawing round 2 to a Florian player. Florian was playing too slow. I should have said something, though. It's really hard for me. At a ProQuest level, people are going to call me wrong for this, but I'll like tell you nicely, like, hey, let's hurry up so, we don't draw. But I won't like call a judge unless you're just being egregiously like an asshole, to be frank. So I didn't call a judge when I should have. The player was playing way too slow. I reminded them twice to play faster. And other than calling a judge, I did what I was supposed to do to try to get them to finish. However, regardless, and this is the one time I'll be negative, at the end of the day, it's a ProQuest and I'm playing Arakni, so I'm not going to get too bent out of shape over it. But I ended up, we got to a game state where I had like 15 health with like 20 cards left in deck. They're on Florian. All they have is 3 cards in hand. They have no cards left. So it goes to time right when they end their turn. So I'm on my turn and we're in time. I end up hitting them. They were at like, I forgot what their exact life total was. I could look it up on my phone, but they were at like 13 or 14, something like that, like low teens. We both were in the low teens, but all they had was 3 cards in hand, no cards in deck. And I had 20 cards in deck with full hand. So I end up playing like a 4 power contract card. I forgot what it was at this point, to be frank with you. Or it was like, I think it was Annihilate the Armed. They said no blocks because they can't block it because they run out of cards. Pop my boots, and then I played a race face for 6. So I dealt 11. So they were at like 4 life. I'm at 15, and they have 3 cards in hand. There's no conceivable way they win, even on Florian. The best they could do is pitch to make 2 rune chants and then swing for 5. I'm going to take all 5, and then I'm going to kill them next turn, right? So, like, the game is deterministic. What I'm trying to say is 2 turns prior to that, I'm never going to ask someone to concede. I'm never even going to try to hint at it in any way, shape, or form. 1, because you shouldn't do that, and 2, because that's just not how I play. But not anyone, that sounds, I'm going to say it, whatever. Anyone would know, looking at that board state as the Florian player, you should concede because there's no way you're winning the game. Regardless, I made the mistake. I should have called a judge. I should have, handled that differently, but it is what it is. So enough about that. We're 0-1-1 right at this point, so we're playing for passion. I have no intention of making top 8, but I'm going to play it out. And this is where it's weird. Maybe tell me where I'm wrong with the breakers. I proceeded to win the next 3 rounds. I beat a Florian round 3. Super close game, but I hit some really good turns. I had like a shred, cut to the chase, eradicate that they couldn't de-react anymore on into like a leave no witness. Like I had some really good turns. I hyper speeded their hero ability, but I also just had some really like strong wide turns that really helped me out. So won that game. Then I played a Bolton, won that game pretty easily. They had a weird double Lumina turn where they kind of stumbled, and I had the right blocks at the time with Oasis in order to stop their Lumina. And I just decked them from that point. And then the last round was against a Viscerai. I was a little nervous going into that round because Viscerai is just so powerful, but it was a Nebula Blade build, and that build's a little bit harder for Vis to generate good value off of into me. I can kind of just deck them out, and they only ran 60 cards into me, which is fine. I mean, it was a choice. I thought they were just going to try to kill me, so I ended up fat stacking because I was like, okay, like, it's a Nebula Blade build. Maybe I should... well, actually, I couldn't do it beforehand. I didn't choose that. But I fat stack into Viscerai anyway, just in case game goes long. So ended up winning that. So I won my last 3 rounds. I was 3-1-1. And I know I lost round 1 and tied round 2. So, like, the chance of making top 8 is, like, almost none. However, the weird thing about it is going into that last 5th round, I was on table 4. So I'm in the top 8 table, right? The last table for top 8. And I win. So I win my last round, finishing 3-1-1 on table 4. And one person on table 5 and one person on table 6 jumped me and got in the top 8. I'm like, it's been an hour, 2 hours at this point, so I'm not like fuming like I was before. But the breaker system is a little bit hard. I understand why they count draws as a loss pretty much because they don't want people intentionally drawing to help their breakers. However, it sucks being 3-1-1 and you win your last round in the table that gets top 8 and you still don't make top 8. That sucks. Regardless, that's my ProQuest recap. I feel pretty good about Arakni this year. Before we get into the list really fast, I've played 5 events on Arakni this year. I played this ProQuest. I went 3-1-1. I went 3-2 on another RTN. I went 2-2 on an RTN. It was a small one. I went 2-3 on one RTN. It's the only time I went negative or like had a losing record with Arakni at an event this year. And then at Battle Hardened Richmond, I went 5-3. So I'm like this close every single event. So I'm super happy with how I've played. I definitely think I punch above my weight class with the hero, but I just got to try keep getting a little bit better and hopefully, keep chugging away because I do love this hero. Regardless, let's get into the list after all of that. Hopefully you stayed through this. So it's a pretty tried and true Arakni list. Nothing crazy. When it comes to the ProQuest, I wanted to tailor to my local meta, right? And that's when you look at my sideboard, definitely feel free to change it. If you have a different meta, maybe you have, a lot of Zen and you want to run Amnesia or something, or maybe you have, I don't know, some off the wall hero, like looking at the hero list really fast. Maybe you have a lot of, a couple Guardians lying around. You have to run some immovables or a lot of Azaleas and you want to run a little bit better defense reactions. Definitely feel to do that. But regardless, we're running the normal equipment suite. Flick Knives, enough said about this card, right? The boots and the headpiece we won't talk a lot about. If you have questions about them, definitely let me know in the comments down below. Tunic is the centerpiece. When it comes to the daggers, we took away Nerve Scalpel. The only matchup where Nerve Scalpel really truly matters is Florian and Verdance, and I didn't think I would play them today, and I played 2 of them, which is funny enough. But we always have Gravenclaw on the list for the most part. The only time I really don't play this card that I remember if I'm remembering correctly, is Brute, because I like having access to both of those daggers for that reason. I think it's Brute is the only one I actively don't run it in. But Graven Call is just so nice to generate that value. Games go really long right now. Even against the aggro decks, it can't, like, I love the fact that I can, there's a weird interaction with Bonds of Agony playing in this deck where it's like, oh, it's kind of hard to, get off. Well, it's not hard to get off if your headpiece and your boots are up. So what I'll typically do is I'll block with these when appropriate, but my first 2 silver always goes to Graven Call for the most part, like 9 times out of 10. And then I try to, especially in the aggro matchups, I'll stack like 4 to 6 silver. I don't care. And unless I really need that block value and I just pop them every once in a while, I try to save at least one of these, if not both of them, up for a Bonds of Agony turn to really pressure my opponent. So having Graven Call is really good for that. Spire's Bite is obviously in the main. And then in certain matchups, I bring in Scale Peeler, which is in the matchup section. Definitely go check it out. When it comes to my reds, all of this is stock, right? Like Already Dead is very good in this meta. I put it back in the list. I had it out for a little bit, but it's good into Aurora because she has a lot of instants. It can be good. It's good into a lot of heroes that have equipment because you run stuff like Cut to the Chase and Shred, so it makes them a little bit weary to block with it. There's a good amount of defense reactions in Runeblade specifically right now. So overall, I think the card's really good. It's a popper. It hits all the spots. Annihilate the Arm, very simple. Command and Conquer, Cut to the Chase. Funny enough, I had 60 cards in my deck, and I had my sideboard all done, and I had 79 cards in my deck, and I didn't know what the heck to put in, and I didn't have anything that is a one of in the sideboard that I could use. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to throw in a Death Touch, because this card off of Codex of Frailty is amazing, because one, I can pick Blood Rot if I feel like it, but two, with Dash.io, I can pick Frailty again and just shut off her like gun completely, right? Also can shut off News Daggers. I can shut off a bunch of stuff. Like Frailty matters a lot in this meta right now, which is really, really nice. So I put the one of Death Touch in there. Enlightened Strike, Fate Foreseen, Justin Nick we have in here. We do have a package of 9 blue 1-powers in the deck. Bonds of Agony, Desires of Flesh, and Persuasive Prognosis. So Justin Nick really helps with that. I think I hit Bonds of Agony 3 times today. Very, very consistent. Leave No Witnesses and Plunder the Poor, Sink Below, Slay the Scholars. I have Slay the Scholars on the list because I was expecting some Runeblade. They do have a lot of non-attack action, so I felt like that was pretty good. You could run Sack the Shifty in this spot if you want a little bit more synergy. I just ran Slay the Scholars. Codex, Eradicate, Shred, and then our blues. So our blues, we have 18 blues in the list. The kind of tried and true ones are Surgical Extraction, Coercive Tendency, and Warmongers. Warmongers is so good in this meta right now. The 9 that I put in that were kind of a package for Justin Nick is these 1-powers. Being able to play Persuasive Prognosis for 1 with a Shred in hand, it feels so stupid. Like the fact that Shred interacts with these, Justin Nick interacts with these, right? Cut to the Chase doesn't, and there has been a time where I've thought about running Razors, but all the 3 of these cards will banish on hit for the most part because we're never playing Agony if we can't trigger its ability. In my opinion, I'm just not going to waste it. So being able to trigger is really, really nice. Also in certain situations where we play like a Plunder the Poor into Coercive Tendency, into Desires of Flesh, on hit, banish a card, potentially fulfill a contract, and gain a life. And then we play something else. Like Coercive Tendency does work with these cards if you play a contract first. So there is some good synergy there. So that's our main board, 61 cards. Sideboard, again, is completely relevant to you. I knew we have an Acilio player and a Kano player in our list. I didn't know in our local meta. I didn't know if they were going to bring those heroes, but regardless, I had to respect it. So I brought AB3, Spell Void 3 for that very reason. Scale Peeler is just really, really good. It's good into Brutes. It's good into a lot of heroes. You'll see in the sideboard. The main sideboard pieces, Erase Face. Erase Face is really nice into Dash.io. Max all the Mechanologists. It's also very good into all the Runeblades. It turns off Decompose. It turns off Viscerai. It's arguably, in my opinion, the best 2 for 6 that's not Command and Conquer right now for this specific meta. It even matters into Aurora a little bit with like Entwine Lightning and Fuse effects. It also stops Bramble, Spark, Fuse, all that good stuff. So really good for that. Oasis, again, I like this for Runeblade specifically. I like it for Azalea. I like it for... It's just a good card to have right now. A lot of the Wizards, if I did run into an Errant Verdance, It's really good into Dio because you can target her gun and it will block for 2 shots of it, which is really nice. Same thing with Max, and I knew we had a Max in our local area with Merrick, and Merrick's such a good player. I wanted to have that. And then Weakest Link. Weakest Link's good into both brutes that are relevant right now in KO and Leviah. It's good into Aurora. It's good into New. Erase Face is also good into New, by the way, because it turns off assassin attack reactions. Like, you can't hiss something because it's not an assassin attack anymore. Anyway, Weakest Link's good into a lot of the heroes that you're normally used to seeing, so on and so forth. And then I have some maybe stuff in here that I was thinking about. At one point, I did have Looking for Scrap on the list, but I need my on hits to matter every single turn, so it just didn't make the list. I also had Frailty Trap in there at one point for Dio, but I figured Death Touch and Codex were enough. But it is an option for you if you have a ton of Dio in your area. But yeah, this is a list. I have a small matchups board. If you want me to add another hero in here, let me know. But we have Aurora, Brute, Dio. The biggest thing's Brute. I'm taking out Graven Call. I'm putting in both Spider's Bite and Scale Peeler because I want to be able to use those for different reasons. Most of the time when I'm on AB1, 9 times out of 10, as you can see here with Aurora and Florian and Vis, I'm taking out Mask of Perdition and just adding in the new headpiece, Widow's Veil Respirator. If I went AB3, then obviously I put all 3 in, but your headpiece is like the least important thing because in Viscera and Verdance, you don't want to fuel or decompose more, so you actually don't want to activate Mask of Perdition. So having that as AB1 makes the most sense. And in the Viscera, I want to be able to get that Graven Call and start getting incremental value there, so that's why I chose to do that. So this is the list. Again, every single event this year, 4 out of 5 events, I've had a positive record with Arakni, so I can't complain. My best placing, not even placing, but my best performance, in my opinion, was at the Battle Hardened Richmond. I went 5-3, and that was when, Prism and Enigma were still pretty big, so in KO. So I'm happy with how I've played. It sucks I keep bubbling, but we'll get there eventually. One day Arakni will be there, but overall super fun. Let me know if you have any questions on the list. If you want me to go over anything specifically, I will. Would love to chat Arakni at any point. If there's any cards that I kind of breezed over because they're normally staples in my mind, but you want me to explain them more, let me know. If you want a budget version of the list, I've made a budget Arakni. It's public on here because I always have someone who asks me that, which is not a problem at all. I just know that I have a budget version of the list. Let's see if I can find it. Here it is. This budget Arakni version. Definitely go look at this. Just type in budget Arakni, $40 on February, and you can see like a budget version for anyone that cares enough. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. 3-1-1. Didn't quite get there, but we had a good time. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great day. If you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. Feel free to. If not me, it's totally fine. Go to another creator, leave a like, comment, subscribe on their stuff. Let's get more people seeing this game, and I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk.